Okay, this is part 31 and the last part of Champion. Okay, Los Angeles, California, Republic of America, 10 years later. June, 1836 hours, July 11th. Balta Sector, Los Angeles, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Today is my 27th birthday. I celebrate most of my birthdays without too much trouble. On my 18th, I joined Andon, a couple of senators, Posco and Tess, and several former Drake classmates for a low-key dinner at a rooftop lounge in Ruby Sector. My 19th happened on a boat in New York City and the colony's rebuilt version of an old, drowned city whose outskirts now slope gently into the Atlantic Ocean. I'd been invited to a party thrown for several international delegates from Africa, Canada, and Mexico. I spent my 20th comfortably alone, tucked into bed with Ollie snoring on my lap, watching a brief newscast about how Day's brother Eden had graduated early from his academy in Antarctica, trying to catch a glimpse of how Day looked as a 20-year-old, catching in the news that he himself had been recruited by Antarctica's intelligence agency. My 21st birthday was an elaborate affair in Vegas, where Andon invited me to a summer festival and then ended up kissing me in my hotel room. 22nd, the first birthday I celebrated with Andon as my official boyfriend. 23rd, spent an induction ceremony that placed me as the commander of all squadrons in California, the youngest lead commander in Republic history. 24th, a birthday spent without Ollie. 25th, dinner and dancing with Andon on board the RS Constellation. 26th, spent with Posco and Tess as I told them about being freshly broken up from Andon, how the young elector and I came to a mutual agreement that I simply couldn't love him the way he wished I would. Some of these years were spent in joy, others in sadness, but the saddest events were always tolerable. Far worse things have happened, and nothing tragic during these later years could compare with the events from my teenage years. But today is different. I've been dreading this particular birthday for years because it takes me back to some of the events from the past that I've tried so hard to keep buried. I spend most of the day in a fairly quiet mood. I rise early, follow my usual warm-up routines at the track, and then head to Balta Sector to organize my captains for their various city operations. Today, I'm leading two of my best patrols to escort Andon during a meeting with colony's delegates. We may not share the same apartment anymore, but that doesn't change how fiercely I watch over his safety. He will always be my elector, and I intend to keep it that way. Today, he and the colonies are deep in the middle of discussions about the smooth immigration status along our border, where the United Cities have turned into flourishing areas with both colonies and Republic civilians. What was once a hard dividing line between us now looks like a gradient. I look on from the sidelines as Andon shakes hands with the delegates and poses for photos. I'm proud of what he's done. Slow steps, but steps nonetheless. Midas would have been happy to see it. So would Day. When late afternoon comes, I finally leave Balta Hall and head to a smooth ivory-white building at the east end of Balta Square. There, I show my ID at the entrance and make my way up to the building's 12th floor. I trace familiar steps down the hall, my boots echoing against the marble floors until I stop in front of a 4-square-inch tombstone marker with the name Captain Midas Icarus embedded in its crystal-clear surface. I stand there for a while, then sit cross-legged before it and bow my head. "Hi, Midas," I say in a soft whisper. "Today's my birthday. Do you know how old I am now?" I close my eyes, and through the silence surrounding me, I can sense a ghostly hand on my shoulder, my brother's gentle presence that I'm able to feel every now and then in these quiet moments. I imagine him smiling down at me, his expression relaxed and free. "I'm 27 today," I continue in a whisper. My voice catches for a moment. "We're the same age now. For the first time in my life, I am no longer his little sister. Next year I will step across the line, and he will be in the same place. From now on, I will be older than he ever was." I try to move on to other thoughts, so I tell my brother's ghost about my year, my struggles and successes in commanding my own patrols, my hectic work weeks. I tell him, as I always do, that I miss him, and as always, I can hear the whisper of his ghost against my ear, his gentle reply that he misses me too, that he's looking out for me from wherever he is. An hour later, when the sun has finally set and the light streaming in from the windows fades away, I rise from my position and slowly make my way out of the building. I listen to some missed messages on my earpiece. Tess should be leaving her hospital shift soon, most likely armed with a slew of new stories about her patients. In the first years after Day left, the two of them stayed in close contact, and Tess would keep me constantly updated about how he was doing. Things like Eden's improved eyesight, Day's new job, and Antarctic games. But as the years went on, their chatter grew less frequent. Tess grew up and into her own life, and gradually their conversations dwindled to brief annual greetings. Sometimes, none at all. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss her stories about Day, but still, I find myself looking forward to some dinner chatter with her and Pasco, who should be heading over from Drake University, probably eager to share his latest adventures in training cadets. I smile as I think about what they might say. My heart feels lighter now, a little freer after my conversation with my brother. My thoughts wander briefly to Day. I wonder where he is, who he's with, whether he's happy. I really, sincerely, deeply hope that he is. The sector isn't busy tonight. We haven't needed as many street police in the last few years, and aside from a few soldiers here and there, I'm alone. Most of the streetlights haven't turned on yet, and in the gathering darkness, I can see a handful of stars flickering overhead. The glow from jumbotrons casts a kaleidoscope of colors across the gray pavement of Balta sector, and I catch myself walking deliberately underneath them, holding a hand out to study the colors that dance across my skin. I watch snippets of news on the screens with mild disinterest while skimming through my missed messages. The epaulets on my shoulders clink softly. Then I pause on a message Tess had left me earlier in the afternoon. Her voice fills my ears full of warmth and playfulness. "Hey, check the news." That's all she says. I frown and laugh a little at Tess's game. What's going on in the news? My eyes return to the screens, this time with more curiosity. None of it catches my eye. I keep searching, looking for what Tess might have been talking about. Still, nothing. Then, one small, nondescript headline so brief that I must have been skipping over it all day. I blink, as if I might have understood it, and read it again before it cycles out. Eden Batar Wing in Los Angeles to interview for Balta engineering position. Eden? A ripple glides across the silence that has stilted me all day. I read the headline over and over again before I finally convince myself that they are indeed talking about Day's younger brother. Eden is here to interview for a potential job. He and Day are in town. I look around the streets instinctively. They're here, walking the same streets. He's here. I shake my head at the little adolescent girl who has suddenly woken up in my heart. Even after all this time, I hope. Calm down, June. But still, my heart sits in my throat. Tess's message echoes in my mind. I return to walking down the street. Maybe I can find out where they're staying, just get a glimpse of how he's doing after all this time. I decide to call Tess back once I've reached the train station. 15 minutes later, I'm at the outskirts of Balta sector. The train station leading to Ruby appears around the corner. The darkness has lengthened enough for the streetlights to turn on, and a few soldiers are heading down the opposite sidewalk. Aside from them, I'm the only one on this block. But when I reach a slight curve in the street, I see two other people headed in my direction. I stop in my tracks. Then I frown and peer closer at the street before me. I'm still not sure of what I'm seeing. A pair of young men. Details flit automatically through my mind, so familiar now that I hardly think twice about them. Both are tall and lean with pale blonde hair that stands out in the dimly lit light. Instantly, I know they must be related, with their similar features and easy gaits. The one on the left wears glasses and is talking animatedly, brushing golden curls out of his eyes as he goes, his hands painting some sort of diagram in front of him. He keeps rolling his sleeves back up to his elbows, and his shirt collar is loose and rumpled. A carefree smile lights up his face. The young man on the right seems more reserved, listening patiently to his curly-haired companion, while he keeps his hands tucked casually in his pockets. A small grin touches the corners of his lips. His hair is different from what I remember, now short and endearingly unruly, and as he walks, he occasionally runs a hand through it, leaving it even more wayward. His eyes are as blue as ever. Even though he's older now, with the face of a young man instead of the teenager I'd known so well, he still shows hints of that old fire whenever he laughs at his brother's words, moments of startling brightness and life. My heart begins to beat, cutting through the heaviness that weighs on my chest. Day and Eden. I keep my head down as they draw closer, but from the corner of my vision I see Eden notice me first. He pauses for a second in the middle of his sentence, and a quick smile appears on his face. His eyes flicker to his brother. Day casts casts me a look. The intensity of it catches me off guard. I haven't been subjected to his gaze in so long that I suddenly can't catch my breath. I straighten and quicken my pace. I need to get out of here. Otherwise, I'm not sure whether I can keep my emotions from spilling onto my face. We pass each other without a word. My lungs feel like they might burst, and I take a few quick breaths to steady myself. I close my eyes. All I can hear is the rush of blood in my ears, the steady thumping of my heart. Gradually, I hear the sound of their footsteps fade behind me. A sinking feeling slowly settles. I swallow hard, forcing a flood of memories out of my mind. I'm heading toward the train station. I'm going home. I'm not going to look back. I can't. Then, I hear footsteps behind me again. Hurried boots against pavement. I pause, steel myself, and look over my shoulder. It's Day. He catches up to me. Some distance behind him, Eden waits with his hands in his pockets. Day stares into my eyes with a soft, puzzled expression. It sends an electric shiver down my spine. "Excuse me," he says. Oh, that voice. Deeper, gentler than I remember, without the rawness of childhood and with the new elegance of an adult. Have we met before? For a moment, I'm at a loss for words. What do I say? I've spent so many years convincing myself that we no longer know each other. No, I whisper. Sorry. In my mind, I beg myself to tell him otherwise. Day frowns, confused for a moment. He runs his hand through his hair. In that gesture, I catch a glimpse of something shiny on his finger. It's a ring made out of wires. Of paper clips. A breath escapes me in shock. He is still wearing the paper clip ring I'd once given him. Oh, he finally replies. I'm sorry to bother you, then. You look really familiar. Are you sure we don't know each other from somewhere? I search his eyes in silence. I can't say anything. There's a secret emotion emerging on his face now, somewhere between strangeness and familiarity. Something that tells me he's struggling to place me, to find where I belong. My heart protests, reaching out for him to discover it. Still, no words come out. Day searches my face with his soft gaze. Then he shakes his head. I have known you, he murmurs. A long time ago. I don't know where, but I think I know why. Why then? I ask gently. He's quiet for a moment, then he takes a step closer, close enough for me to see that tiny ripple of imperfection in his left eye. He laughs a little, pink creeping into his cheeks. I'm sorry, this is going to sound so strange. I feel like I'm lost in a haze, like this is a dream I don't dare wake from. He begins as if looking for the right words. I've been searching a long time for something I think I lost. Something he lost. The words bring a lump to my throat, a sudden urge of wild hope. It's not strange at all, I hear myself reply. Day smiles in return. Something sweet and yearning appears in his eyes. I felt like I found something when I saw you back there. Are you sure? Do you know me? Do I know you? I don't know what to say. The part of me that had once decided to step out of his life tells me to do it again, to protect him from this knowledge that had hurt him so long ago. 10 years. Has it really been that long? The other part of me, the girl who had first met him on the street, urges me to tell him the truth. Finally, when I do manage to open my mouth, I say, I have to go meet up with some friends. Oh, sorry. Day clears his throat, unsure of himself. I do too, actually. An old friend down in Ruby. My eyes widen. Suddenly I know why Tess sounded so mischievous on her message, why she told me to watch the news tonight. Is your friend's name Tess? I ask hesitantly. It's Day's turn to look surprised. He gives me an intrigued, puzzled smile. You know her? What am I doing? What's happening? This really is all a dream, and I'm terrified to wake up from it. I've had this dream too many times. I don't want it taken away again. Yes, I murmur. I'm having dinner with her tonight. We stare at each other in silence. Day's face is serious now, and his gaze is so intense that I can feel warmth running through every inch of my body. We stand together like this for a long, long moment, and for once I have no idea how much time has passed. I do remember, he finally says. I search his eyes for that same aching sadness, the torment and anguish that had always been there whenever we were together. But I can no longer see it. Instead, I find something else. I see a healed wound, a permanent scar that has nevertheless closed, something from a chapter of his life that he has finally, after all these years, made peace with. I see. Can it be possible? Can this be true? I see pieces of memories in his eyes, pieces of us. They are broken and scattered, but they are there, gradually coming together again at the sight of me. They are there. It's you, he whispers. There is wonder in his voice. Is it? I whisper back, my voice trembling with all the emotions I've kept hidden for so long. Day is so close, his eyes are so bright. I hope. he replies softly. To get to know you again, if you are open to it. There is a fog around you that I would like to clear away. His scars will never fade. I am certain of that much. But perhaps with time, with age, we can be friends again. We can heal. Perhaps we can return to that same place we once stood when we were both young and innocent. Perhaps we really can meet like other people do, on some street one balmy evening where we catch each other's eye and stop to introduce ourselves. Echoes of days' old wish come back to me now, emerging from the mist of our early days. Perhaps there is such a thing as fate. Still, I wait, too unsure of myself to answer. I cannot take the first step. I shouldn't. That step belongs to him. For a moment I think it won't happen. Then Dave reaches out and touches my hand with his. He encloses it in a handshake, and just like that I am linked with him again. I feel the pulse of our bond and history and love through our hands, like a wave of magic, the return of a long-lost friend, of something meant to be. The feeling brings tears to my eyes. Perhaps we can take a step forward together. Hi, he says. I'm Daniel. Hi, I reply. I'm June.